Oh yeah, welcome back to DEGREELESSNESS, everyone. Thank you for chilling with us tonight. I'm your host, Shanghai Pete, veteran of 1,000 culture wars. Now, it's a new year and a new decade, so you know what that means. Brand new opportunities for the video game industry to discover fresh and exciting ways to personify fundamental, immutable evil. I can't wait to see what they come up with. I'm already terrified beyond the capacity for rational thought. I'm sure you're feeling something similar. Please forgive me the horror we know this industry will make me put you all through in the coming months. And on that note, for our main story tonight, we'll need to take a closer look at one of the most egregious blasphemies that defined the first week of 2020. Our story begins with one of gaming's most ancient and primordial foes, 2K Games, as they take the award for being the first publisher in 2020 to exercise their perverse genius, bringing misery and woe to untold thousands, whose only crime was giving that company their money. Yes, if you were among the unfortunate people to have purchased a copy of WWE 2K20, one of the first things you were greeted with when the calendars rolled over to 2020 was your game telling you to fuck off. Apparently, WWE 2K20's ruinous state of technical polish and pathetically broken codebase were not content with merely depriving its players of enjoyment. Oh no, this obvious and vulgar attempt to repackage a game that was old and shitty even 5 years ago had far more lofty ambitions. That's right, in 2020, this game has upped the proverbial ante by just straight up preventing people from playing it at all. In a display of truly crippling irony, a game with 2K20 in its title became unplayable in the year 2020 due to a bug that was so basic and rudimentary that merely rolling back your system date to an earlier year fixed it. Yep. Easily avoidable and only an issue because of the complete lack of effort and care put into the game's development, this shit epitomizes the problem with this entire genre and largely the whole fucking industry. This is barely an amateur level bug. I doubt even first year programming students would make such an obvious and elementary mistake. Yet, this is the type of drivel being sold to us, created by so-called professionals. I was wondering when all these annual sports games would finally drop the pretense of being new and unique games. I mean, shit, is there anyone left out there who still believes these type of games are developed by like a passionate team with a genuine attempt to release a quality product that fans would enjoy? Well, if there were any before, I doubt there are many left now. And ultimately, that is why we need to get deep inside this tonight. Not just because it's yet another example of 2K Games being legendarily shitty, but mainly because of how this practice of intentionally releasing laughably poor quality games is only becoming more common in the industry. We talked about this in our first video ever last year, so now seems kind of like the right time to do a follow-up, and it's gotten worse, not better, as I'm sure many of you have already noticed. Yes, it truly seems there is no limit to the absence of effort big-name developers will employ to continue profiting off the deception and extortion of their player base. And I have a feeling this incident is going to set the tone for the coming year in gaming. Years of paying off the mainstream media shills and subjecting their customers to an unrelenting barrage of gaslighting and manipulative agitprop have finally paid off. The majority of gaming consumers are now so thoroughly brainwashed and indoctrinated that not only are they gladly handing over ludicrous sums of money in exchange for software that barely qualifies as games, but they're now even actively defending these companies and their blatant anti-consumer practices. They've sided with the access media and are joining in the mass deception and smearing of anyone who dares speak in opposition to the establishment. And therein lies the true genius of the corporations that are in control of the gaming industry now, getting their customers in the shill media to do the work of legitimizing half-finished, intentionally bad games as the new norm and the standard for quality. So, we all know their top priority is to make money. And to do that as effectively as possible, they need to control the narrative. That frame control enables them to implement whatever hideous, exploitative anti-consumer measures their profit goals require, without getting their hands dirty and suffering the public backlash that normally would accompany that type of grossly irresponsible corporate behavior. But that type of unflinching, sweeping influence doesn't come without a cost. Now, they don't want to fight a war or engage in costly, endless scandals and internet drama that demanded their time and resources and keep their PR and marketing departments mired in controversy. It's too expensive, both in terms of damage to their bottom line and in public perception. So instead, they've manipulated their customers into fighting that war for them. Now these publishers can claim plausible deniability, focus their efforts on optimizing profitability at the expense of product quality, and wash their hands of any resulting backlash, outcry, or consumer criticism. This effectively allows them the freedom to do whatever the fuck they want, completely unregulated and subject to zero accountability, no matter how blatantly anti-consumer or obviously exploitative and dishonest. Anybody complains, voices objection or dissent, no problem. Their shill media propaganda machine puts out articles pushing a narrative placing the publisher as the good guy that can do no wrong and framing customers as the toxic, problematic enemy. The mindless gaming public will then mobilize in support of them and will turn on anyone not towing the line, subjecting them to massive amounts of public pressure and smearing, far in excess in severity of anything the publisher themselves could wield or publicly be seen doing. We all know the mainstream media these days operates basically just as an extension of the marketing arm of these fucking companies anyway. At this point, hopefully, a lot of you are thinking, yeah, no shit, this has been going on for a while. And to you guys, I will say congratulations on not being completely retarded. Glad you noticed. So yeah, I know this practice has been relatively common for a while now, but it's just getting worse and more effective. Think about this example, right? We'll use me. I'm a nobody YouTuber, not even 100 subscribers, and yet to this day, people still flock to a video that I made months ago about how I was pissed off that the Final Fantasy VII Remake wouldn't include the entire Final Fantasy VII game, and instead would be drip-fed to us across an unspecified number of episodes. I wasn't even saying I thought it would be a shit game, only that I was disappointed and angry that Square's pursuit of more lucrative profit models superseded their desire to release the remake as a complete game and including all Final Fantasy VII. Now, maybe you agree with that, maybe you don't, but it doesn't seem like a very divisive issue, right? I mean, who the fuck really cares? Apparently it is though, because to this day, I still get myopic idiots spamming the comments of that video, insulting me, blindly defending Square Enix. What could that possibly be doing for you? I don't know, I really don't get it. Now, I only bring up this example, one, just because it's fucking funny, and two, because I think it illustrates just how fucking effective this kind of mass public indoctrination and narrative control is. That video was months ago. I'm not an influencer, obviously. Effectively, nobody watches my content and gives a fuck about what I say about anything. But since huge air quotes, AAA developers have their fanboys so completely brainwashed and have such total unwavering influence over them that these people independently, of their own volition, in their own free time, seek out others, even people no one is paying any attention to, like me, and proactively attack them in defense of their favorite corporate overlord, in this case Square Enix. Like, just think about how fucking insane that is. Then expand that example to a macro level, and suddenly the state of the games industry begins to make a lot more sense. Games like WWE 2K20, Anthem, Fallout 76, Ghost Recon, Call of Duty, they are the way they are on fucking purpose. They're not good because they don't have to be. Most modern games are buggy, uninspired, broken, derivative, exploitative, and blatantly manipulative because they don't have to be any better. And why don't they? Well, because who the fuck is left that's gonna call them out on it? There's certainly no more GamePro magazine or EGM or anything. Who the fuck's gonna say anything? Certainly not Kotaku, Polygon, IGN, or any other mainstream news outlet. No one is gonna hold these publishers to account for their garbage games. No one's gonna point out that, hey, this is obviously total shit. Or, hey, this is obviously designed just to take money from your customers and not to be any fun. No one's saying that. So, of course, now they can get away with it. They don't spend the additional time and money required to make good, fun, unbroken games because they don't fucking have to anymore. You'll buy them anyway, and fucking IGN and Polygon will still go out there and pretend they're good anyway and throw sevens at them, perpetuating the illusion. The only people who will say something, call these motherfuckers out and challenge the narrative are, independent content creators. And what happens to them? Oh, they get smeared and deplatformed. I wonder why that is. Could it be, perhaps, that it's a concerted effort by industry-controlled shill media to delegitimize the only real competition they have, who are also, incidentally, the only people challenging this corporate narrative? Very, very interesting. So, don't you see? The last vestiges of anything resembling accountability in the games industry are finally being almost completely exterminated. We're really looking at the end game now. Now back to WWE 2K20. This game has amateur level game breaking bugs in it because it can. People will buy it anyway because there's no longer any motivation or impetus for it to be of a higher quality. There is no standard anymore. Now, just to really fucking pound this shit into your fucking heads, we're gonna use an extremely basic example to illustrate this concept. So, what is the incentive for any company to produce a product of high quality? Well, to entice people to buy it, obviously. Take the automotive industry, just for an example. A BMW costs more than a Kia because it's a better quality car. That's why people are willing to spend that much more money on it when compared to a Kia, because it's better. If a BMW was only as good as a Kia, no one would pay the extra money for it, and understandably so. BMW willingly endures the higher overhead costs of production because that's what's necessary to produce a car, a product that will compel buyers to pay the high price they're asking. If they make a shitty car, people won't pay that price for it anymore. See, this is the market ensuring that they maintain a certain level of quality. If they don't, people stop buying their cars. Makes sense, right? Pretty easy to understand. Now, apply that example to video games. It used to be that if you wanted people to buy your game, it had to be good. If it was full of bugs, or filled with low-effort reused assets, or didn't offer a genuinely enjoyable entertainment experience for the player, no one would buy it. Again, this is the market enforcing a certain level of quality. Games were fun because they had to be, because that was the surest way to get people to buy them. Didn't matter if you needed to hire additional artists, push back the release date, rewrite entire sections of code, whatever was necessary to ensure a final product that players would enjoy was done because there was no way that it would make any money otherwise. Okay, with me so far? Alright, but now things are different. Games only need to possess a superficial appearance of quality. The industry-controlled narrative now does the rest. Why spend the money to iron out all the bugs in a yearly entry sports game when people will buy it regardless, simply because the narrative dictates that they should? Why would you release Final Fantasy VII Remake as a single game containing the entire Final Fantasy VII story the way the original was, when you can instead have people buy a new version of it every year in perpetuity under the guise of it needing additional episodes? Why waste the time, resources, and development money creating a genuinely enjoyable game when you can instead make a broken derivative piece of shit for next to nothing that people will not only still buy, but also attack people who don't buy it? This is what happens when you combine capitalism with mass tribalism and apply basic psychological manipulation. It used to be that everyone, including corporations, were at the mercy of the market. Now, due mostly in part to the rise of social media and the internet, especially exacerbating the fanboy phenomenon, in the games industry, the market is now a product of the narrative instead of the narrative being a byproduct and a result of the market. The corporations now tell you what games you should want to buy. Think about it. The narrative has already decided what games and shit that you should be hyped for in 2020. They've already told you. Doesn't matter if you've played them or if they've even released any trailers. Doesn't matter. You already know what you're supposed to buy and what you're supposed to like. People who fall in line with that narrative are rewarded by blue check marks and shills all across social media, reinforcing their behavior and beliefs with little shots of dopamine in response to them doing the right thing on Twitter. If you're one of the people who won't buy into this whole narrative, oh well, then you're promptly smeared, deplatformed, and kicked out of the tribe. Bye-bye. Pretty basic groupthink tribal psychology, sure, but undeniably effective, and not really possible on the levels needed to work for complete overarching control of the industry until the recent rise and subsequent domination of all things cultural by, yes, your good buddy, social media. What would we do without you? You should buy Wolfenstein Youngblood. It's a good game. Why is it good? Because we said so. If you don't buy it, it's because the main characters are female and you're sexist. WWE 2K20 is a great game and you have to buy it because we say so. If you don't agree, you're a toxic, entitled man baby. It's the wrestling game. Everyone who likes wrestling buys the wrestling game. You better buy it. Call of Duty is justified in charging you for digital trinkets and cosmetic bullshit. $1 for a little fucking reticle? No fucking problem. If you don't like it, it's because you have a problematic view of game developers. The Final Fantasy VII Remake, that looks incredible, and Square Enix is a kind and generous company that has only ever made virtuous decisions and is pure of heart and intent. Your concerns about the intentionally obfuscated nature of the planned episodic release cycle are irrelevant because everyone knows Final Fantasy VII is a good game, and if you have anything negative to say about it, you must be wrong and your opinions are problematic. Why wouldn't you buy it? It's Final Fantasy VII. Everyone loves Final Fantasy VII, right? It's the best Final Fantasy. It's the best role-playing game of all time. You better buy it. Buy it right now, you stupid fuck. Final Fantasy VII is awesome. Suck a dick. Sounds a little too fucking familiar, doesn't it? It would almost be laughable if it didn't work so fucking well. There's no longer any need to spend the resources necessary to create a genuinely high quality game. There's not. It's far cheaper and more effective to simply manipulate and bully the masses into buying whatever you tell them is a good game. So sad. Now this finally brings us back around to WWE 2K20, where this all started. What I find so disturbing about this story, it's not that it's a lazy, broken piece of shit game. Everyone knows that publishers like EA and 2K shovel this kind of garbage out half a dozen times a year. What's surprising is how little effort that they've put into upholding the charade of it being a high quality game this year. And I'm thinking, like, is this perhaps a sign that the industry is finally beginning to, like, drop the pretense that they're releasing genuinely high quality games? Like, has their control over the industry narrative and, like, the media cycle become so widespread and entrenched that it's simply no longer necessary to even lie to us anymore? Like, going forward, is it just gonna be, here, take this shit game, it's total shit and you know it, but buy it anyway, you stupid fuck? Like, I mean, honestly, it wouldn't surprise me. The industry has done far worse, and like, we're halfway there already, if not more. I think 2020 is going to become known as the year the industry just finally ends the masquerade. Well, shit. That got out of fucking hand, didn't it? Well, that's our show for the week. Hopefully this episode has helped deprogram a few of you from the industry cult brainwashing that seems to have claimed so many. But if I'm honest, I'm not really holding out any hope for that. Anyone seeing this probably already knows what's up, and the people who don't probably never will. They're off watching IGN videos and defending AAA publishers in Polygon's comment section. Oh well, I do what I can. That's all for now though. Thank you so much for chilling with us. We love you today, we love you all the way, and we'll see you next week. Don't forget to do your part as a good little AAA toady and downvote this shit, slander me in the comments down below, and be sure you never subscribe because only posers die.